What's up, everybody? So we're out in the shop and we're working on the kukri build today. Now, I wanna talk about this for a second. So I knew that I was gonna get a few different mixed reviews on the knife, the finish that we put on it. I knew there was gonna be some that were nobody really just said, "Ah, that looks horrible," but it was a few people that thought it looked awesome and a few people that thought it was pretty good, or sections of it looked pretty good. But I want to show y'all a few things. So a lot of people, pretty much everybody, liked this particular line here. So the one that's right along the edge looks a lot like a hamon. There's a lot of people that were mixed reviews on the line that goes across this little forged area right here. Now, I want to actually try and explain something on this. For one, this doesn't translate well on the camera because of the lighting and everything. You can't really see it very well unless you kind of turn it like this. All of this section right here is all etched. Then there's a line that follows it. You can't really see it that well, but there's a line that follows it that looks almost exactly like this line. It follows the whole entire edge, and it kind of borders this etched area right here. And then the whole entire second area inside here, in between this line and this line, is all patinaed. It almost looks kind of like camouflage-y. So that's all patinaed through here. You can't really tell because of the glare from the light. And then this is all just a clean area on the edge. So we've got three different types of finishes going down the blade. You can kind of see how it gets a little darker in here, but all of that, and you can kind of see it a little bit going through here, where it's kind of camouflaged all the way through this area and then super clean on this, and it looks like three layers. So whenever you're looking at it in person, you get to see all of that and the depth of everything, and it looks awesome. But again, it doesn't translate well through the camera lens. I'm hoping that whenever I get the handle put on it and actually get everything finished up and we take pictures of it, y'all will actually be able to see all of that. And I'm going to do them outside in the daylight so you actually get to see it with a little bit softer light. But it's looking awesome. Now, when it comes to the stuff that we're going to work on in this video today, we are going to be making the handle scales for this knife. So this video is all based on making the handle scales. Now we're going to have different layers that we're going to be doing, and they're putting a bunch of pieces together. I wanted to do something that was pretty unique. So we're going to be using Burl wood. We're going to be using G10 liners. We're going to be using vulcanized paper liners. We're going to be doing a few different things. We're going to do an inlay, all that stuff. So hopefully you're excited about this, and I think it's time to go ahead and jump into it and get it knocked out. So we're going to go ahead and cut off all of the excess wood, and the whole point behind this is I use these pieces of scraps for other handles whenever I start making them. So I want to cut off the larger pieces that I can reuse and set them to the side so they can be used later. And we're going to go ahead and start cutting down our 1/8" thick black G10 liners. And what I do with these is I cut them a little bit oversized so that it makes it easier to position the scales on top of them. If you cut them to where they're the exact size, there's no room for error. And we're going to start flattening the scales out, and the part that I'm really focusing on here is the sides that are going to meet the G10. We can always flatten the outer pieces later after we do the inlay. So right now it's just focusing on getting everything flat so that you don't have any weird gaps between the scales and the liners. Now we're going to try and position where the inlay is going to be. You want to pick a good spot, because the last thing you want is for this inlay to be too close to one pin or the other, or you could have them closer to one pin or the other. It's kind of up to you. For me, I'm kind of picky, and I want it to be positioned in an area that it feels more appealing to the eye to me. And once we got that marked, we're going to go ahead and cut. And all you're going to do is just cut in the area that you're going to be inlaying it. You don't have to cut both sides on either side of the inlay. It's not necessary. All you got to do is just cut a line, square that up, put the inlay right there, and call it done. And then we just get the sides that are going to meet the G10 again smoothed up, so that everything that's going to touch a liner or the inlay is all squared up and ready to go. Like I said, it's going to make it a lot better when you start doing the gluing process, because you're not going to end up with any gaps. And we're just using 5-minute epoxy from Shady Weld for this. You want to make sure you get it mixed real well. And what y'all don't see me do typically is I do keep the strip of tape that I have this on to test the hardness and see when it's hard enough for me to actually start working. But we're just putting a thin layer of epoxy on all the pieces that are going to touch. You don't have to go crazy with it, because a lot of that's just going to create squeeze out the more you put on. There's only so much epoxy that can stay between the scales and the liners. So we start going through, and we're putting epoxy on each piece that's going to be touching each other. And I'm going to show you something here in just a second that you got to focus on whenever you actually make inlaid pieces like this. And I'm going to slow it down when we get to that point and talk about it. But right now, it's just making sure that you line everything up the way it's supposed to be lined up, and that you are going in the right order. So for me, it's wood, burgundy, black, green, black, burgundy, wood. And then you're going to start clamping down. And just make sure that you know that when you start clamping, the scales are going to start shifting as they're squeezing some of the epoxy out. So you just want to kind of keep them lined up. Right now, I'm putting pressure the length of the scales so that it pulls everything together and decreases any gapping. Now, one of the things that I'm showing right here is these little inlays will raise up if you're not paying attention to them. So you want to slide them side to side and let them rock back down into place, because as you're pressing all of this together, that epoxy is squeezing out and trying to go somewhere. And this is the path of least resistance, is pushing those inlays up and out. So we're just focusing on making sure that everything's pushed down, and then those are squeezed back together lengthwise. So that's why the clamps are the way they are. And one of the things that you have to focus on is keeping everything in position as you're actually clamping it all together. It's definitely going to look good, and I'm excited about getting these all squared up again so I can see how they're going to look in the end. Now what we're going to start doing is just using the quarter band saw to cut off all the excess. Now there's not a ton of excess, but it's a lot easier to do this on a quarter band saw than gunking up my belts with all this material and epoxy. This goes way faster. Plus, it doesn't create a bunch of heat on everything. You know, if you get these super hot, it's going to start dissolving that epoxy, and you're going to lose your mechanical bond. You don't want to do that. We're going to repeat that process on the other one, and now we're going to go ahead and start squaring these up and making them look like one piece as opposed to multiple pieces with different levels of layers and all that. We want it to turn out to be something that looks like it could have came that way. You want to be careful whenever you're doing this because you can easily get this super hot and again start dissolving that epoxy and you lose your mechanical bond. So I swap between the scales over and over and over again while I'm doing that process. So then we get them clamped together, and this is an important step because you want everything even and squared up so that when you start drilling your pinholes, everything is going to line up right when it comes time to do the glue up. Because the last thing you want is to try and force pins in and things like that. So just make sure you focus on getting everything square and go from there. Can't wait to show you what these look like in the outro. Okay guys, let's go ahead and wrap up today's vlog. Now, this is where we're at. So I went ahead and did a sand up to 500 grit so you can kind of see the grain a little bit, and then got it with the buffing wheel and just kind of brought out everything just a little bit for y'all. Now we've got this awesome Burl wood right here, and then our three different colors that we have here. We got that burgundy, the black, and then that mallard green. I think that it's going to look really cool, and I think that the end result is going to be what I was planning on it being. So I like this. Now we of course have the black 1/8 inch thick liner that's going to be on there as well, and I really think that the end result for this is just going to be really awesome, and y'all are either going to again like it or you're going to go, nah, I don't really get that. But typically what ends up happening is whenever I finish up the knife, you get to see the overall theme of it, and then a lot of y'all go, okay, now that it's done, it looks awesome. Of course, for this knife, I'm kind of just going off of what I like, and I think that's really what matters because I'm making it for me, at least for the time being. Most of my knives that I make for me, I end up selling to people because I just keep making more knives. And right now I've got like an entire closet shelf that's just like lined with knives, which as a knife collector, that's cool, but yeah, it hits a point to where I go, okay, I'll go ahead and sell one or two of these. I've got a few of them that I'm about to post on the Facebook page. I'm either gonna do like a raffle where you buy X amount of spots and you know, get a chance to win one of the knives. That'll be on the Facebook page if you want to be part of that. You can go over there and check it out. And then I think I'm going to put a couple of them just up purely for sale. So if y'all want to buy a few of them, it's going to be just a few different random knives that I've made on the channel. So each one of the knives that I end up posting on there for sale will be ones that you can actually have the video series that goes along with it. So that's kind of unique. Guys, that's pretty much the end of this one. If y'all would give this video a thumbs up, share this video or one of my other build videos, and guys, if you have not yet, subscribe to the channel, bottom corner. Turn on the notification bell so you get notified of all the stuff that we have that's coming up, and there's plenty of stuff coming up. You know, maybe a little bit of this coming up, some just a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of 1095 and some 15N20. What are we going to do with that? Maybe make some Damascus? Yep, so that came in and we are about to start that project. That's going to be pretty cool. And then we've got a few other things that I'm going to be doing. One of the smaller videos that I'm going to end up doing, I'm going to be making a sheath for my flashlight and my little multi-tool that I have here. I'm going to make a sheath for this to where it goes, of course, onto my belt. And both of these will fit into that sheath. It's just going to be a Kydex, kind of tactical-ish looking thing, because I use those all the time at my job, and I think that y'all would like that video, so probably going to have one of those videos pop up. But guys, thank y'all for coming by. Thank y'all for spending your time with me. Y'all have an amazing day. I'll catch y'all next time.